Start off reading the first poem from Silver Beach Road. This is autobiographical. It covers me from the age of 0 or 1 week, 1 day, or whatever, to when I was 10 years old. And I've never really written an autobiographical poem anything like before. This is a long poem, so if you get bored with it, just get up and leave. And you'll pay for it later. Silver Beach Road. Wild geese flocking the Virginia coast parachute down my mother's chimney to nest with mallards, their black eyes shining like berries in firelight, bringing on sermons and elegiacs from an astral slide through the deck of time. How the Chesapeake Bay screams within me. Back comes the shingled cottage and the gibbous moon, the over Silver Beach Road. I lift from shadows my brothers and cousins, tumbling from beds of vegetable gardens, dark so deep I can't see my hands. My father's anger boiling over, my mother close to dying, breaking water and blood on the front porch steps before little David came. On the murmuring beach at night, under shivering stars, moons, limp sailors, impaled by spars and rusted boats from wrecked ships or freighters, whisper of tuck, tafftail, and mizzen, cat-head and combing, devotees of motion turning to bound, keeping time with the stars, pirates roamed the rippling tides of cloud and sky and ankle boots, diamond crosses hanging from their necks, initials, pistols in their belts, slung purses, fat with powder and pantaloons of silk, shirts tucked in to wrap around their genitals and over the shoulders, sumptuary clothing for their royal wives. Lightning thunders down the causeway of heaven. Sleep well. I'll most likely kill you in the morning. Hush, my people, I'm sleeping, dreaming, listening for the snowflakes impinging the biosphere, my recollecting how the bays, insisting combers cut away the Kellam's deck and kitchen windows. They had almost left nothing and were killed by common coals. I hear the drumming. Beside the bay, 100 feet west of Silver Beach Road, rest the remains of Kellam's cabana, disappearing, sifting into the catacombs of memory. Now in the snow globe of my mind, snow filling drifts, reaching the frothy petticoats of crushing waves. I leave our cottage on Silver Beach Road, take a right on Nancock, trudge the big curve. I'm start screwing up tonight. I'll just confide with you.
Oh, yeah.
You've got me tense. I know too damn many of them. I leave our cottage on Silver Beach Road, take a right on Nancock, trudge the big curve to the left where a swollen serpent hangs from black gum tree as a loop of glistening sable. Skip a block in the glowing lights of Happy Haven. The big snake hisses, the stars in hiding, hurrying now. I swing left at Kellam's unlit parking lot, and left again to Silver Beach Road extension. I find, I'm going to try these glasses. I don't have my other glasses. I've lost my glasses.
No, they're right, they're not in that?
No, that's all right. I'm having a little trouble with my glasses. I find floating in time the histrionically spent cottage of Laura, my ancient grandmother on my father's side, her mind obliterated by age and iron, and her drinking water even more frantic than her twin sister Kate, and their 6 heavy stepping brothers, Uncle Ben and Will and George Floyd, Jim and Muckin and Lynn, too late, all dead now, risen as ghosts in their rocking chairs of summer. 4 of 6 children. I was the eldest. My sister died first. My father clammed extra to afford the marker. At first came frost and then snow. When March blew in, the plague was gone. The whole thing broke my mother, the heart of my mother. forever. Don't think about your sister, said my father, or the bum who probably took the plaque for the brass. You won't live long if you can't stand loss. I remember my mother weeping, cutting flowers for the table. I remember trembling and looking away for my sister, looking away for the ghost in dark corners, looking away for what was once my sister, my cousin and brothers crying, long poles headed off to the Chesapeake cliffs to poke gulls, seagull holes, and frightened newborn chicks, where gulls flew so close to the rippling sea, they seemed to be gaining speed as if seen from a vessel. In 15 minutes, looky there, someone said, the boys are coming home. A cloud of seagulls yammering behind them. Seabirds, wild like demons with feathers, pecked the roof windows, screen door, chimney, flashing shingles. So rose my uncle, disintegrating the squawking with shot, and my cousin Kip, stuck with feathers, sat down to pancakes before the fresh-cut flowers. I was young when we trucked an old smokehouse down Silver Beach Road, but I'm almost certain I nailed a shingle and planted a tree in the yard by dropping a seed in a hole. Or maybe that was elves that built up those 2 tiny bedrooms with tiny hammers. The whole family of 11 slept in the 2-bedroom out cottage called Granada, except my father and my uncle, who bedded out on the glider, rattling on the porch with the breaking snow moon rising or falling. The kitchen was silver. We had to walk single file, smelling scrapple, and we ate and shift on beaches, squeezed between the white enamel table, windows, and wall. We cherished and fished and snapped and scrapped with the best and worst of each other. All of us watermen of one kind or another, after spot or perch or blue or trout, croaker or flounder, clam, crab, mussel, and oyster, excepting grandfather who lived in the garden of cantaloupes, corn, and watermelons, his hoe whispering and heavy over his aching shoulder. So saith my father. The Bible saith the proper way to skin a dog shark is to find a black gum tree and nail its head up against the trunk, slash the neck around, then cut the belly so as to pull the skin on down. Radine kissed me underwater, pulling me down dream upon dream, further than I knew that summer. Her black eyes blessed me with righteous lust. Grandmother walked around in darkness, reasoning her neighbors were stealing her water by means of an underground pipe from across the road, and took to robbing orchards along Silver Beach Road with Aunt Kate driving the getaway car and me the lookout, in which case they would drop the basket with the stolen apples, wave at the passing car as if they were just out orchard walking. They were both so frail they couldn't go out on windy mornings. They played canasta on the front porch when they weren't shelling stolen peas their friend the farmer wouldn't find them having. I gotta get some glasses. They played canasta on the front porch when they weren't selling stolen peas their friend the farmer wouldn't mind them having. My head is lifting, the storm is coming, hopscotching over the barrier islands of the Atlantic coast. Grandmother and Aunt Kate on the front porch. Grandmother, tired of losing, walks behind Kate's chair, grabs her hair and pulls her over backwards. There is a hole in the universe, the sky tilting, exploding with thunder and jagged lightning. They are both on the floor, biting ears and noses, 85 years old and covered with blood, thrashing each other, dresses up to their waist, rolling, screaming, glasses broken, their hands squeezing each other's throats. There is a hole in the universe, whole buckets, a panic washing down on me until a black sky brings a colossus of rising storm sweeping over the peninsula, across the great stone road and fields of blowing corn. Now drenched in sharpened drops of rain that rip into me, gone dark with terror, of who and what I am and what I've come from, brought up by thunder and lightning. There's nothing in the world that can ever fix some things that go wrong. The shortest way to somewhere else is through a tombstone, said Great Uncle Len, on course to the gong buoy of dying. Backhanding a radio through a living room window, the sun rising ashore from behind an old Norse furrow to a storming front of ghost of summer. Moments after, my cousin Sally showed me herself naked through an open bedroom window. And I looked up from shelling peas, Len spent chewing tobacco instead of smoking black cigars shipped by clipper ship from Cuba. That Sunday, the sun melted the wax from magnolia leaves, sails caught fire in the Chesapeake, weather signs were negative and not scuffed off by prayer. Len bled from the mouth, from soul to earth and back again, said Great Uncle Jim. The radio had said you'd be okay if you chewed instead of smoked, so it was backhanded, sending blood-splattered diamond shards of glass to my grandmother's feet as she rocked in her rocker on the front porch, singing to her brother. The lady's sun is sinking fast, my day is almost run. My strongest trials now are past, my triumph has begun. Oh, come, angel band, come and around me stand. Oh, bear me away on your snowy wings to my immortal home. Great Uncles Benji and Will and George Floyd, Muckin and Jim, and Len rented stalls at a harness racing track way down east on Silver Beach Road. To get there from there, you just sail on down Silver Beach Road, past Walter Prigg, then tack, head turn through the wind to Keller near Melfa, where the town family owned the old farmhouse built in the 1840s with an outhouse and back. My great uncles are physically massive in my mind and were massive for their time. Their footsteps of bouncing acorns from lawns and jump-starting tractors. Next to Great Uncle Ben, whom nature set above the others in intelligence, fame, money, meanness, and jealous detractors, Len was the best sulky driver of trotters and the most crooked gambler on the eastern shore. Dark, 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 hair and shadow. Being fascinated by evil, I liked Len best, but feared him the most and wished he lived somewhere else, maybe in hell, die, I guess. When I was 8 and spent nights trying to read the Bible because I liked the words and stories and not the sermons, Uncle Len used to pretend he was holding reins in his hands. He would pull them back 6 inches toward his chest, the chest filled with cancer and tobacco smoke. If you pulled them back that much at the wrong time, he would say, coughing and dying, one of the judges will throw you off the track. If you want to throw a race, you got to get the horse caught in the pack. Its bones don't want to run, and you can't talk them out of that. The next day, on the water, in the sun's glow, I saw horses, their traces and bridles, pulling the sulkies into oceans, their colors slapped across their backs. Eyes wild with fright, with my uncle whipping their backs. Riding the thundering waves behind them, horses can't hold their breaths in water, so drowned in waves. I was drowning too, in place and traces. Back then, people on beds seemed to be flattening, melting. My mother, back in the cottage on Silver Beach Road, was having seizures. Once in the bedroom with only me at her side, she started that hubbub, hubbub of chest, lips, and flying tongue, and spun bang, bang, bang on her heels, and with this fell on the floor between the beds above the hubbub. I ran into the living room. Her brothers had heard nothing. I waved my arms and couldn't talk. I fled into a pantry of my believing, my arms still waving until my uncles jumped up and ran. As if an epileptic had whirled on his heels, spitting blood in whirls. The sudden hills were strung with bright asymmetrical flowers, and Jesus, it was cold, wearing there till the wet, till their spat blood froze. There was torque enough to know God as a dervish, a tick perhaps, the talk of the brain, an epileptic whose electric discharges birth, death, and pleasure and pain, all because he was lonely and no one was about to say, hold back her arms and thrust a spoon in her mouth. At the end of Silver Beach Road, in the old farmhouse, they moved a bed to the dining room and kept my mother there after every spell. For years, her bit tongue purple with mercurochrome, my father drunk, played poker with the great Uncle Lem, mostly gone to the races. George Floyd was quiet, but always a character. We suspected deep water. It was said he did something to destroy the Norfolk church. Preacher's wife said he didn't. George Floyd was quiet, but always a character. We suspected deep water. It was said he did something to destroy the Norfolk church. Preacher's wife said he didn't. Elephants and roosters painted on cups. Elephants and roosters painted on cups followed him wherever he walked. I saw him feed cigarettes to an old winged goat, an old winged goat who sucked under her bed. I would often fly to the hayloft of my thoughts. When he was 20 years old, George Floyd set off for the University of Virginia. 6 months later, after my grandmother and Aunt Kate went to visit, he wasn't there. He came home 3 years later, mum as opposed to where he'd been. Paris, maybe, or maybe a dream. Stroke after stroke, I am becoming my father. In the body of the Chesapeake, its wet tongues around me, held by waves that embraced me with the arms of a mother. I know where my father's hand would go, so I put my hand there and pulled the water to me. I am propelling, kicking, my feet becoming his feet. I am compelling, kicking. When the white nurses come with their crusted froth like petticoats, I let them splash over me like my father would have done, turning my side to breathe. I am naked in my heart and want everyone to hold me. For the good of my country, I am a frogman diving deep, cutting through nets, diffusing mines, surveying enemy equipment. Who will want me? Praise me. In the curve of a path that twisted black in the moonlight from our cottage, Happy Haven on Silver Beach Road. There are no wolves here, says my father, no wolves on the shore. But I know what I know. There are ghosts in Prettyman's barn, tall pines from here to Hancock Creek, the sound of snow falling fresh, and fishermen in Happy Haven singing their beery songs. I cock my tiny rifle. In a distant room, my mother's thrashing convulsions surge, abate. The Chesapeake shudders from shore to shore. Ah, she was wild once and will be wild again. Mademoiselle Hop la Parisienne, sweeping in feathery drifts down boulevards of wind. To my jets, her train. To lures of kidney and slices of brain. I know she will be gone by the season's change. This is the night forest of snow and antelope, the commingling emancipator. All night it snowed white as wolves falling with equipage and white decolate, and in the morning it was snowing. George Floyd lives and dreams and thinks of snowflakes dissolving into the conifer boughs in the Norfolk wood like melting birds, and thinks of snowy stones at Fair Oaks Creek, riprap of reed and bush and tumbled limbs, and dreams of stars where jetties grow spruce and thick pine whispering break the flow of pasture land. In the time of Christ and western wind, he says, and speaks two small boys who walk right angled to the wind in the loneliness of the white tipped down and leaning trees. So young they guess the heat and snow, he says. And hollowed out, a drifted mound where deadfall made the digging easy going. And held each other, their faces white and round as moons, until we were warm, George Floyd said, and dreams again of various beds he knew in a Norfolk wood of cedar, fern, and sweet marsh hay. Then puffing out his lips, he's dead. Now in dreams, in earth as white as birch, he thatches row on row, a foot-thick bed of quick-stripped boughs of balsam, spruce, and fir, softly laid upside down from the way they grow. We take death easy here, he says, then lives again a night of sleep, 10 years old, in a deep browsed bed, freshly made, in evergreen tips and poplar shrouds, plugged with leaves, and sleeps in ecstasy. the snow at night, a descending sheet of scented stars. There wasn't much that George Floyd knew, grandmother said, but what he knew was worse than nothing, worth the knowing. Rolling home from the harness races at Ocean City, my father's Ford no-way street legal, with barred license plates, shook and rattled so badly of an evening it wore my father out. It was raining, he said, it was hard, it was pouring, when he saw a half-hidden sailor that must have been navy blue. Young fellow, my father said, in his uniform, soaking wet, thumbing on the rain, unrelenting. I was sleepy, he said. I stopped the car and told the sailor, get in and take over. And so the sailor slid in, a deep rain, thundering evening, and my father slept until the car went rolling over in a bean field and ended up smashed on its back, blood over my father's face. We were upside down, said my father to my uncle. But I was listening. My door was sprung wide open to the interior, so the interior lights were on. I was upside down on my head, and the sailor wasn't saying nothing. But I knew the sailor was dead. His sailor neck broken by hitting the ceiling at the wrong angle. So there weren't no use in staying with him or going for help. I took a screwdriver from the glove compartment, took the plates from the car, and having no insurance, let the rain wash my face of some of the blood, hiked back to the road, and hooked a ride home of a drunk farmer's truck. In the morning, drove away, dark, and Uncle Benji, 85 years old, rancid in the yard, waved his cane as if it was his business to know the whereabouts of the car. And my father, still bleeding, said, "Shut your mouth, old man!" for the first time ever, and punched him in his old man's gut. Thus ensued a dither of scope. Screaming, great Aunt Kate and grandmother howling, father and Benji fighting through the morning about the whereabouts of my father's car, throwing punches in a fury, pausing, rising, getting up again to applause of my brothers, Bill and David, coming out of the cottage, watching from the rocking chairs. I saw the devil sitting in a tree, hands on his crotch. My father and Benji bellowed at each other with the air from their lungs, coming out of fire with their devil's tongues. Benji's broken hand slapping my father's head until the sheriff came up in the yard and carried them off to the jail in Appomattox. Bad and bloody and groaning where they played cards until the next morning. The night my mother left, my father drank and cried, holding his glass to his mouth. Next day we went out for shark. My brother and I held on for pride and jerked our lines from the undertow. We caught dog shark, bills to port, mine to the right, and my father took them by their throats because he'd forgotten the butcher knife. And sharks are dangerous in rocking boats. He stood up right and didn't curse us pulling him in, but cursed the man in the morning light that made him span a boat of children with a snapping shark in either hand. Why couldn't he have been God? He squeezed Bill's shark until its guts came busting out, then smacked my shark against the boat to break its back. Why couldn't he have been God? I'd give the job to anyone who could handle sharks like that. My dream lover, cousin Nancy, the scent of her sweater, all underwater, now in memory. My father is wearing a narrow-brimmed hat. He is my father's memory, or my father in memory, or my father's father, and his father before him. He is the ghost of my father, sailing in slow time through the split rail gate, holding a rod to his waist, its high tip over the oxen. He is the ghost of my father's father, sailing in water in slow time. He is the accurate and not to be forgotten memory of my father, and what he is saying comes rising toward me, curving as if refracted by water. It moves from underwater into this empty spirit of now, into this boneyard where I lay asleep, near waking, now birthing, now dying, now sailing beyond tide and kin, beyond this boneyard where last I sleep in autumn. In the tender hours, the brown shingle cottage, I was deeply enamored of my cousin Nancy. When she spoke from the rustle of leaves and bed of moss outside the open window, I listened under a sky so foreign, in evening shade, so ebullient with starlight. There were notes to pluck that lingered till morning. So soft were her fingers on my cheeks, so maidenly floral, her pretty knife and pretty mouth and lips to dream of and kiss. I would turn away and she would be gone, to a night under stars lost in the hollyhocks of my mind. Alcia, Rosia, my mama del sol, pink rose, rest of the sun. She was 5 years old when I followed her even into the shadows. Later that night she helped me through seizures, tapping my face to calm me. But back then on Silver Beach Road, she had me running, circumnavigating the cottage, yelling, "Damn Nancy, damn her!" When she got behind the outhouse hiding while I kept on running, "Damn Nancy, damn!" And also damned her brother, my cousin Woody, who'd hide with her. She gave me my first book, though, The Rubaiyat, and Peter Bowman's Beach Rail, and later tried to teach me to read James Joyce in the absence of my mother. I loved her the most, me, brought up by thunder and lightning. With axe handles, Radine and I crushed beer cans that glimmered beneath the docks, espaliered over the beach and ebb and flow of white-capped water. Then we sat on the dark sand, whispering of future lovers' parts, not knowing the essential whereabouts of functions. Hearts on fire, we cried out our tears to passing stars. Hey there, lonesome whippoorwill. In the distant dark, watermen drank and laughed to country music, doors slamming, hearts on fire, perfume of moon. We could see lights from Happy Haven restaurant and Drinkway rush through its crossed windows, and over the picked green fields with stubble, Radine gasped, "Hey there, lonesome whippoorwill. He sounds too blue to fly. Like me, he's lost the will to live. I'm so lonesome I could cry." Lighthouse from the mist with the sun in its tower, the soft poem above the rocks, greater than the shallows, freighters hauling oar, packet boats, trawlers. If I were to love you, it would be with no reservations. Night spill of sea, white nurses in moonlight breaking, all breaking asleep in their caps, rising flotsam from the sea across lit ocean, fine waters, depth shadows, being love to me. I remember the night of the Tennessee walls, and an old friend I happened to meet. All of us boys, cousins and brothers, gathered after breakfast every summer morning but Sundays, headed off down Silver Beach Road, stubbing our toes on melting, blazing asphalt to Mrs. Mack's store for candy and Dr. Pepper, and to visit Mr. and Mrs. Mack, who called us their boys, and to deny the ghost inhabited Prettyman's warehouse at Diagonal Street, and told us we should stay away because we'd get hurt playing on the piled high boxes. We loved Mr. and Mrs. Mack, but still, one darkened afternoon of Halloween way back then, we went into Prettyman's warehouse and opened the door. Ghost of the Chesapeake Bay had been settling at the bottom and rising to the top and breaking into the froth of commerce, rushing to Silver Beach as long as anyone knew. Ghost of lost airmen moaned in the trees on equal footing with the Nassawatucks, the Onancocs, the Caratots, and Machapongos, all ghosts. The race of Chingatigas flew to the Chesapeake in search of lost loved ones who were dead at rough water, tipped over canoes, blizzards, lightning, thunderstorms, water spouts, floods, hurricanes, and the mouths of sharks. So it weren't no wonder a ghost was haunting Prettyman's warehouse. The door was open, my cousins and brothers were gone in a rush up Diagonal Street towards Silver Beach Road, their bare feet abrading on gravel. The scream came whining like a fire engine siren, but human. A face came at me from the warehouse's darkness, large and round and dead white moon, as a dead white moon, floating but fast and roaring, its body flowing white like a sheet on a line, but was nothing like human. I was fast on the heels of Bill and David and Kipper, who were passing the fig trees and the Mac store. On the teary-eyed way to the cottage and under a bed, I ran into the store to warn Mr. and Mrs. Mac that a ghost was loose. I couldn't talk. I shook my hands. I shook all over. They looked at me funny as if they were making an inquiry of some sort, but saying nothing. Then I was back in the pantry of an empty house looking for chocolate. I went to the beach and lay on the sand Halloween evening, and for a long time looked up at the sky. Damn Nancy, goddamn Woody, goddamn everything in the world. Nothing was worth nothing. Then I watched upward ghosts and their shadows, and the enveloping darkness came down from the stars. From the stars and streamers came down. I am thinking of the cypress, of the blackwood and the pocomoke, or the great depth at which we find images of ghosts and things now gone. On the osprey white, the teal bird, rail bird, loon and canvas back, thinking of the islands vanished, came to the Chesapeake or Highland Island, where schoolhouses, church, and houses broke down in trunks and drowned. Thinking of the original floating theater, showboat closed down and drifting, thinking of all the dark hull of all the wide-eyed, once familiar faces, now sinking or sunken, thinking of all the souls now settling like ballast into the Chesapeake, into the empire of the whistling swan. My hands in the wind like leaves, trembling, the gale receding. My eyes closed shut, my heart remembering ghost in the rigging, the spinning wheel, the showboat's loud drifted, singing fore and aft, binnacle, sextant, and pendulum clock, church bells are ringing. I took my mother down as my father taught me, not waiting for other. As the benediction ended, my arms locked around hers. The organ stopped and someone swooned. Blood flew from her tongue for lack of a spoon, Took her down as her heels danced me round, her body on top of mine, upsetting the vestibule candles above, her lips blubbery with blood. My own blood streaming up from my hair, shot and lip, and somebody waving one of those paper Jesus fans. I held on for the Lord, head banging the floor, de-dum, until her thrashing was over. She had the devil inside of her, someone shrieked, now he's in her son. Being born, busy being born. Later I entered the hospital room. Her tongue was painted the color plum. The winter snow falls in the children's snow globe of the little pine trees and their shivering ornaments. On the white felt like forest road, on the softening ease of the glass's more elliptical hours, and soon there is snoring in the chimney. And we watch ourselves sleep beneath this globe of sky with earth as its core. Snow is always metaphorical. Even now, outside this window, half dream, half real, it squalls like ghosts over a frozen lake and trees seeking release. And now the wolf howls in the shattered crevasse of the brain, his white fur hung with balls of snow. I let the cold sea wind curling into the punctate lesions of my brain. That brings meaning? Is it from the snowy ash of my father's pipe that the white gull flies into the noble spaces of my imaginal world? A collection of medicine bottles shines on my windowsill before a snowy mass of tall sea grasses that rise into foam at the Chesapeake's edge and extend by plumes to the vanished stars. Who's to say I am not my father? Time suspended at a singularity where particles of light stretch through dimensions like string. Silver Beach, Virginia, hangs in the sun like a blossom of snow. Outside my window, flights of gust ply the shaken avenues of wind, like the filigree of a breaking wave. This is my own, my native country. In the morning chill and blush of sun, the viewing gulls rise in waves of steepled fire. The empowered dust stirs in strings of cottages. This is the hour of keenest memory. The invisible shore shudders in impossible thunder. There's age to think about the popping of grease in the iron spider. Still the ghosts stir in a fine array around the wooden table. My ancient grandmother on my father's side, even more frantic than her twin sister Kate and her 6 brothers, Ben and Will and George Floyd, Jim and Malcolm and Lynn, talk of neap tides and offshore currents. There's no voice here more important than any other. All are sifting into the sunlight of the kitchen window, where old Kate Bull sings Abide with Me and O'Donovan Rossa. And then again their ghost right to their own, the clamors on doors caught by sudden tides or blows or snows after the pine notice thickened, and the oyster men who slipped from being during the endless oyster wars. There are even ghosts of ships come back, boats, schooners, skipjacks, bug eyes, ferries, their engine corrupt with the sails gone slack. Long canoes, crabbers, dead runabouts and yawls, sweeping and howling brigs, clamours, haunted oyster boats, galleons, trawlers, John boats turned over. There are sailboats, streamers, barges, battlefield ships, empty destroyers gone from wave to wave, yards dead, Hessian brigantines, pirate vessels, the pirates, the privateers, and big-bellied ships of trade, and so many fishing boats, scrapers and nets, slavers from down under, where African men and women and children were chained and thrown over to join others drowned by the rising wave. After a dream, under the cottage, crawling through cobwebs in the dark, I found my cat, stiff black cat, where I had dreamed he was. I've never lost an ache of that. My yellow kitten, snarling, trying to bite us children. We jumped up on chairs and laughed at him for being thrown about by a rage too big for him to handle. Adults talking of how a woman down the road had to be smothered in a mattress. Paper sailor hats, coloring books, teachers I loved looking over my shoulder. So many things now reduced to a few images. Beaten up on the playground by a boy much larger and better dressed than I. Shoes in a circle around me. Come on, Noah, all the girls chanted. When I was trapped on the bottom, gasping and crying. Just don't know how many people I may pay for that. Fairy tales, novels, the Bible. My mother read to me when she was well. Not enough to eat, but we had a great library fussing to be read. You don't have to believe in God, but you can read the Bible and go to church, my mother always said. Thank God for that. She made me a poet in my dreams. She made me. Still, the still beach water, the bright moon breaking the Chesapeake's roar, roaring to me in frogments, flippers, and masts, sneaking up from the shore, crabbing at the pilings, snow beating on the sails, tripping motorboats over, my dream lover Nancy, the scent of her sweater, and Ray Dean kissing me underwater. In the morning, my father came to me with tears in his eyes, said we were moving to Baltimore, in spite of the fact he was a champion swimmer. The fish weren't biting. There wasn't any work left on the shore. This is a night forest of snow, the antelope, a commingling emancipator. All night it snowed white as doves, falling with equipage in white. All night it snowed white as wolves, falling with equipage in white decollete, and in the morning it was snowing. We were free. Wolves falling from the ceiling all over the cottage, wolves falling from the chimney. We set the table with snowy plates, and the wolves fell between them. How we shouted our joy when the bus didn't come, and the radio blared that wolves were general from Kip to Peak to Machipongo, falling on Hunter's Creek to the salt marsh sludge. Wolves were falling from loblolly sheaths, trees, and bobolinks twittered in the howling wind. She kissed me underwater, pulling me down, dream upon dream, further than I knew that summer. Her black eyes blessed me with a righteous lust forever, and this I've used to create my kind and set them free. Wild geese, my mother's chimney, mallards, black eyes shining like berries in firelight, bringing on sermons and elegiacs from an astral slide through the deck of time. So I say goodbye now to Silver Beach Road, left for Baltimore, 1953.